Trenching jobs are among the most hazardous of construction work sites. The primary hazard is a cave-in, which can crush or suffocate workers. We've already taken a look at preparing a safety checklist for a trenching job, trenching equipment, worker safety gear, spoil, site protection, and emergency procedures. Now, let's take a look at several different methods that can be used to protect the worker against trench cave-ins. Most of the cave-in fatalities that occur each year happen because the trench had no protection in place to guard against a cave-in. These accidents could have been prevented if proper protection had been used. Designing a protective system can be complex because of the number of factors involved: soil classification, depth of cut, water content of the soil, changes due to weather and climate, or other operations in the vicinity. The following trench protective information only applies to trenches 20 feet or less in depth. There are two site conditions that do not require the installation and use of a protective system before allowing workers into the trench. The first is when a trench is made entirely in stable rock. The second is when the trench is less than 5 feet deep and a competent person has examined the ground and found no indication of a potential cave-in. Only in these two cases can the trench be cut with vertical sides without the installation and use of a protective system. If the trench is to be more than 5 feet deep in soil that is not entirely stable rock and/or there is a potential for a cave-in, then the trench must be sloped, shored, or shielded for safe entry into the trench. The sides of the trench can be sloped so that soil won't slide to prevent cave-ins. The maximum allowable slope is the steepest angle from the horizontal at which trench walls will lie without sliding. Slope can be expressed as the ratio of horizontal distance to vertical rise. The more unstable the soil, the flatter the slope should be. For example, the sides can be vertical or 90 degrees for stable rock, 3/4 to 1 or 53 degrees for type A average soil, 1 to 1 for 45 degrees for type B cohesive soil, 1 1/2 to 1 or 34 degrees for type C loose soil or sand. Check local and federal regulations for ground sloping measurements. One method of ensuring the safety and protection of workers in a trench is to slope the sides to an angle not steeper than 1 1/2 horizontal to 1 vertical, which is 34 degrees measured from the horizontal. A slope of this gradation or less is considered safe for any type of soil. Trench shoring and sheeting is another option for protection against cave-in. Shoring means a structure such as a metal, hydraulic, mechanical, or timber shoring system that supports the sides of a trench. Sheeting means the members of a shoring system that retain the earth in position and in turn are supported by other members of the shoring system. Use sheeting made of timber, aluminum, steel, or other approved and engineered materials, bracing and jacks, hydraulic or screw, to support trench walls, as determined by qualified and authorized personnel. Check with your shoring engineer or local and federal safety regulations on trench shoring before any shoring is done. These regulations will spell out very clearly how far the shoring must be set apart and how thick the sheeting must be at various trench depths. Use only materials in good condition. Don't use shoring to support heavy equipment. Use heavier shoring materials for trenches to be left open over a long period of time. Use special care removing shoring from the bottom up using lifting tackle or jacks. A trench shield or box can be used as long as it is not subjected to loads exceeding those which the system was designed to withstand. A trench shield is a heavy frame, often made of steel, to which steel plates are bolted or welded. Shields can be permanent structures or can be designed to be portable and moved along as the trench work progresses. A shield is especially useful for sewer and pipeline work because it allows prompt backfilling. Weather and climate may call for stronger shoring, extra bracing, or steeper sloping. Watch for water flow from rain, groundwater, storm drains, or damaged water lines, all of which can loosen soil and increase pressure on trench walls. Workers should not be in trenches where water has accumulated or is accumulating unless adequate protection has been taken. A competent person must inspect trenches subject to runoffs from heavy rains. Very dry weather can also be dangerous because it tends to loosen soil. Frozen ground can thaw and weaken the walls of the trench. Watch out for heavy loads. Heavy equipment, pipes, or timbers can exert great pressure on trench walls. Keep them as far back as possible from the trench site. Also, vibrations from moving machinery or nearby traffic can loosen soil and cause walls to collapse, especially when proper trench shoring or sloping is not used. Daily inspection of trenches, adjacent areas, and protective systems should be made by a competent person for evidence of a situation that could result in possible cave-ins or other hazardous conditions. The inspection should be conducted prior to the start of work and as needed throughout the shift. Always have a safety-first attitude during trenching operations to avoid tragedy. And this is Claude Akins reminding you that safety is your job too.
There are many types of motorized equipment used on our job sites. There are forklifts, backhoes, trenchers, aerial man lifts, bucket trucks, crane trucks, and cherry pickers, to name a few. It is our objective to ensure that each operator of any motorized equipment at Dashiell Dacon Corporation is competent to operate that equipment safely and proficiently. Only trained, qualified, and authorized personnel shall operate motorized equipment. Qualifications of an employee's ability to safely operate motorized equipment shall be reviewed and approved by their supervisor.